This is why you save up your money so you can go to the movies on the weekend and see a movie like this. I'm giving The Fall Guy a 9.
Whoa!
I am. To watch the movie? Then hang out with us. Let's talk about it. This is the Untitled Film Project Podcast. We have Justin Bradford, Jeremy Gover. I am Jim Chandler. We're talking about The Fall Guy. Once the best stuntman in Hollywood, Colt Seavers must crawl out of the hole of obscurity to save the movie production helmed by the woman he loves and misses dearly.
I'm just a stunt guy, trying to look cool in front of the director of this movie. That's her, who I just so happen to have a major crush on.
Plus, we'll ask our big question.
Our big question this week, as you guys all know, we like to ask the big question every single episode here on the Untitled Film Project Podcast. And this week, it's actually a user-submitted question because on Twitter, at Untitled Film Pod, Untitled, Bradford, what is it?
Yeah, Untitled Film Pod.
There you go, thank you. I got tripped up in my mind because of the zeros instead of the O. On our Twitter, because it'll always be Twitter.
Zerod.
Yeah, Zerod, yes.
Yeah.
We got asked a question by at Lance Huff.
Oh, I recognize that name.
Yeah.
We've seen him interact with us.
We have, he's a long-time listener. We appreciate
Excellent.
that. And we appreciate you as well. Mm-hmm. Lance asks, what is the most egregious error you've seen in a major movie release?
Oh.
So he's not talking about Terror Tunes. He's not talking about your direct-to-VHS. He's talking about, an actual movie that you went to see in the theater, and
Big
you're
movie.
like, oh, that is a problem.
How'd that get through?
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that later in the show as well.
Okay, excellent. All right. Let's talk about The Fall Guy first.
I really enjoyed it. A lot. I had a lot of fun. Now, here's the thing. It is curious how the opening weekend box office numbers have not matched the overall critical reviews and audience reactions to this. It has fizzled. And it makes me wonder with the marketing because they started marketing this really early.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's been getting bombarded with people.
Super Bowl
on. And not
ads.
just us being movie people understanding it. Push at the Oscars.
Yep.
Push all over the place. Multiple trailers and everything. Did people get sick of it before the movie even got released? So they didn't know what it was, what to expect? Because I think people are enjoying the film. Why are people not going to watch it?
Because it's the wrong weekends. In May, there was so much going on.
That's
I can just
fair.
tell you from personal experience, like every single thing that I've either been asked to go to had to turn down because I've had other events. There's graduations, there's proms, there's all kinds of stuff going on. There's something about May that I think is a terrible release time. This is a summer blockbuster movie. Why did you release it early May?
So Memorial Weekend would have been the May weekend, right? Yeah, okay, that's a fair point because that's what's throwing me off here. Because I'm going, everyone I've talked to has at least enjoyed it. It's not peak cinema. It's nothing. It's not meant to be that. It was a lot of fun, and there were a lot of little jokes in there too to the filmmaking industry. And Jim, I know we were talking about before the screener for it is. I just hope they put a little Easter eggs in there to people that understand the film industry that will really appreciate the jokes.
Right.
Not everyone's going to get it, but the people that do will appreciate that sense of humor they throw into it. Plus, the use of music in it was a lot of fun. Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt are just, they're treasures. They're treats to see on screen
their
together.
chemistry together,
Yeah.
like it is so good. It is ranked right up there. Like, okay, this is like one movie together. So I'm not trying to make this a legacy thing, but there are classic couples that have chemistry, and like Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant for you like old movie lovers.
Kevin Hart and The Rock. Wait.
But I give it to you. The judge will allow it. They're so good together. I mean, the repartee they have is fantastic.
And Ryan Gosling he has great natural comedic timing. Whether it's in Barbie and so many other things, but Barbie stands out because of Barbie and the blockbuster that it was. But this one, his delivery mechanisms, in terms of the bloopers. We got a little bit of a chance to see some of the credits, which stay for the credits. It's really fun to see the action behind it and the stunt making behind it. But he has such great comedic timing. And I appreciate that about him.
I was just so supremely entertained. I thought this is just the perfect summer blockbuster movie. Why is it early May? I don't know. But like there's something for everybody, okay? So if you love action, it's a stuntman movie. Of course, there's a great action. If you like romance, there's a great romantic story here. If you like comedy, the jokes land. It's hilarious. Some of it gets a little crazy, kooky, but you got to expect it. I mean, so I don't think young, old, man, woman, whoever you are, there's something in this movie that's going to entertain you pretty much from start to end. So
Over.
I really, I was so happy coming out.
I liked it too. I will focus my initial thoughts on one thing.
Okay.
Because one of the things I really liked about it was that every time you turned around, usually there was a reference to some other movie.
Yeah.
So Mission Impossible, the fault, like he's I don't know, even though he wasn't face down, he was still Mission Impossible-esque. Right, Notting Hill they mentioned by name, Pretty Woman they mentioned by name.
Yeah.
Then there's a Dune style. What do you call it? At the end, the finale, the big speech, right? And then and the score, of course, is that way. Black Panther, where M'Baku himself,
Yes,
basically does Mbambe, but not really, right? And they do one chant, and then the stunt guys go after, right? It was things like that. Deadpool, there was a Deadpool where he had the floating fingers out of the falling backwards out of the helicopter. I can keep going on and on. The point is that those kinds of things are so cool because if you know them, you get it. If you don't know them, it doesn't impact the movie at all. You don't have to know that's a Deadpool reference when he throws up both birds and falls out of the
it just happens.
You don't have to know that that's a Dune soundtrack. It masks itself as what it's supposed to do, as an epic type action soundtrack score, right? You don't have to know that M'Baku was in Black Panther and he was part of that. You don't have to know that. It's great filmmaking in the fun sense. Is anything life-changing about this? No.
Didn't have to be.
Didn't have to be.
Yeah.
But it was so fun and it was so creative. And when there's even little things like there's a joke. She goes, "Can you drive me to my car?"
Yeah.
Okay. And the second he said that, I was like, he's going to drive like 2 feet.
Yeah.
So it was predictable. It happens.
But it still hit.
But it's still got to laugh.
Yep.
And that is hard to do. It's hard to have predictable comedy still pay off. So full marks for The Fall Guy.
I think what helps hit with so many things is because of who directed it and his background in filmmaking as well too.
Oh yeah,
is that the timing of everything is important when you're a stuntman. David, is it Leitch or Leitch?
Leitch.
Okay.
I said that at the beginning of the film, so it's David Leitch.
So David Leitch.
Right. Yeah.
Stunt people have to have timing nailed down, whether that's action timing, comedic timing, stunt timing, everything.
Safety
timing, everything.
Kind of a big one.
Yeah. Everything in this film really hits with the timing of things throughout it. I didn't feel like it was necessarily too long. I didn't feel like things were drawn out. They even make an exposition joke.
Yes.
I mean,
oh
my God, I immediately thought of Gover.
Really appreciate it.
Immediately thought of Gover as this was happening. It was like, they get it. They get it so much.
They've called out the over-explaining in a movie. And but you know why it was, I think, all these things were done so well by David Leitch is the fact he was a stuntman.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so like every part of this movie, it's behind the scenes of a movie, and like he has done so many of these parts. So it's like not only does he know how to direct, I mean, he did Deadpool 2, which I mean, out of the helicopter, that's like a reference to his own movie, Hobbs and Shaw. There's a John Wick movie.
Bullet Train.
Yeah, Bullet Train. So like the guy knows how to make a movie, and he has done all the things in a movie. So I think he was kind of the perfect choice for director. Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling, I just absolutely love these people. They're Barbenheimer from last summer, and then they're paired together in this movie. There's some things like, okay, this is a little more different for Emily Blunt because, obviously, Oppenheimer, very serious film. But the Ryan Gosling, just like a year later, from his portrayal of Ken, is just perfect. And you've got this wounded man in both movies that uses that to perfection. Ryan Gosling has always kind of had, some people have knocked him for being oh, he's just got that like cool guy, handsome smirk, and he just uses it. No, he's really talented. And I think what they did with the dialogue between Jody, the director, and Colt, the stunt guy, was just magnificent. I mean, they're bang, bang, back and forth. Loved it.
Did I hear Jim just say that he was the male Kristen Stewart? I think that's what he just said. He had a type, and people didn't like him for it, and then
I said other people didn't like him for it.
Oh, okay.
Wait a second. Let me prove
Gover
this.
was looking for a soundbite right there.
You thought, okay.
Makes my job easier later.
But I actually have a I Love the Ryans club, of which I am a member, and a few people have told me that they are members too. I even have an I Love the Ryans club playlist on my phone. Ryan Reynolds and Ryan Gosling. I love these guys. Okay. And these are all songs that would have been, that either are from their movies or would fit in their movies. So no, I have always been a Ryan Gosling fan. From Drive to Blade Runner 2049, Ken, it doesn't matter. I love him.
And I think Ryan Gosling right now, well, he's obviously been very popular for a long time. We've seen him in great things. He's an awful cornerback, but we've seen him in so many movies that are iconic where his roles are. But I think the era that he's in for his career and the choices that he's making for his roles are putting him on a whole other level in terms of how people are viewing him worldwide. I mean, Barbie obviously helped with that. This one's another big blockbuster, but it's showing the chemistry that he's able to pull things off and being able to do these roles where, yes, there's lots of stunts, there's comedic timing, there's seriousness, there's romance. Like what Jim said, there's so many genres that fit into this that you can enjoy it, that so many people are going to. I can't wait to see what his next role is. Like, it makes me want more Ryan Gosling and seeing these types of roles that he's doing because I'm truly enjoying him as an actor right now and seeing him on screen. He's one of those people that if I see he's in it, I want to go watch it. I'm very curious now. I'm curious to see what Ryan Gosling's doing. Emily Blunt, another one. She does some serious roles. You think of the different movies that she's going to have out or has had out. Quiet Place.
Right.
Switch to this. I mean, same thing with her husband. All the different types of things that showing the breadth of what they can do as an actor is always curious to me and always fun and intriguing to see what they're able to do. They're not being typecast in certain types of roles. They can pull off so many different types of things, and I love seeing actors being able to have that kind of chemistry on screen to do different types of things.
Yeah, this was a payoff for Emily Blunt because she's done so well and great in movies in which she's had to be serious, or like talk about the Quiet Place movies and things like that, where she's been phenomenal. And then you see her do press for those movies, and she's one of the funniest people. She's one of the most engaging. She's got like so much charisma. And then like this movie lets her do that on the film itself.
And I think you saw a taste of that, and I know it wasn't a blockbuster, but it's still fairly popular enough with Jungle Cruise.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see comedic timing there too, and more of the slapstick, the physical comedy, physical humor.
She was hurt by the project, though.
Right, yeah.
But yes.
And I mean, it wasn't great. I had fun just because I'm a Disney person. It was not phenomenal, but I just had fun with it. Blah.
No, sure.
But you could see those talents developing into even more into the roles that she could take on of that physical comedy, just like Ryan Gosling more in the physical comedy realm of it, and not just funny for the sake of funny and just comedy. But there's physical comedy in The Fall Guy. Plenty of physical comedy and humor involved in it. Just the truck scene. Can you take me to my car? Little things like that go such a long way. The karaoke bits and everything too. There's so much in it that I enjoyed, and I can't wait to go watch it again.
Okay,
I do want to watch
really
it again.
Rewatchability.
Because if anything, I want to see if there's other things I missed in terms of Easter eggs.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
That's why I want to go watch. Is like, because I missed a couple of things you guys already talked about.
I only started counting when they started naming Notting Hill and Pretty Woman.
Yeah.
I was like, but there's
definitely more.
They've referenced others, and I started keeping a list. Yeah.
And here's the thing. I'll be fully honest. I didn't know there was a Fall Guy TV show before the movie.
Oh, really?
I had no
That's
idea.
probably our generation, though, Jim.
Yeah.
Because I knew it.
I knew it existed, but I never watched it.
Oh,
I never
seen it
saw
either.
it. Not even aware of any of the lore with it. Or like,
so I was not aware. So I enjoyed the movie on its own for what it was. And then the audience reaction when certain things might have happened in the movie, not to fully spoil it, even though hopefully you've already watched it if you're listening to this.
Go watch, then come listen.
Yeah. The audience reaction made me realize, there's a deeper connection here, and that's great for people that appreciate that as well.
Yeah. There's several levels of cameos that are done in this film that I'm not going to spoil them for you here because they're so much fun. that to tell you what they are, just in case you haven't seen it, would be such a disservice to your experience at the movie. Gover, one of the things that jumped out at you about this movie that you just loved, hated, indifferent?
Well, first of all, let's never forget that Emily Blunt's best role of all time is Miss Piggy's publicist or manager or secretary, whatever she is. That's her best role of all time.
We do have a love of the Muppets and anything connected to it.
We do, it's true. My biggest takeaway from this movie, the performances are great, the chemistry was great. You guys mentioned all that already. My biggest takeaway was the directing. Okay, so this is a film where they talk about split screen and then they do split screen.
That's great.
Which again, if you write that idea down, it's like, yeah, of course. Okay, that's not that big of a leap. But how they did it, where they crossed their legs on the table at the same time. The pacing is exactly the same.
Had fun with it.
Yeah, they spread things open in a closet at the same exact time while one's listening and one's talking. It's really amazing.
Basically a dialogue scene, but it's the funniest, most visually interesting, engaging scene of the whole movie for me.
Yes,
I thought that was brilliant.
It was so great. So there's that. There's the fact that the opening credits were in screenplay form to the point where when it first came out, Ryan Gosling, I was like, did they mess that up?
Right, I know.
And we was, like, you know,
what they're doing.
These are the things that I love. Okay, it's the small things like this. It's these creative twists that you have to have opening credits. He made them part of the movie. And that's next level directing to me.
And even the things that get me, or that got me throughout this was the montages. Or self-aware montages. Like you could tell there was a little wink action throughout the montages because they understand that an action movie will have a montage of some sort. And it hit. And there are multiple montages. There are multiple long scenes. And there was that wink and nod every single time that they were very self-aware of what they were accomplishing. That's what made me appreciate it because it wasn't like they were forced. Like some action movies, it's a montage for the sake of a montage. Yeah. To try to push the story along and jump. Right. We see that in superhero films all the time, especially in origin story superhero films. We see montage. No, this one was a wink and a nod montage throughout the entire film, and I absolutely appreciate that about the director.
And that goes back to what I said earlier about predictable comedy. Absolutely. Even though it's predictable, it's still landed, and that's difficult.
Enjoy it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Still funny.
Can I throw a tip of the hat to Hannah Waddingham? Who if you watched Ted Lasso, she was the female owner of the team that Ted coached. She plays a Hollywood producer in this movie, and she's so good at it. I think she can be forgotten. Yes, she does play a somewhat large role, but it's such a Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt movie that let's just not forget about her because she brought it. All right, it's time to score The Fall Guy. What's it get numerically? It's going to be etched in stone, so make your scores count. Gover, what do you think?
A+ for opening credits and screenplay style, like I mentioned. As a nerd, I absolutely loved the Hall H joke.
Oh, gosh. The running joke. It was a running joke.
No, I know, but the first time he said he goes, Hall H, it's a big deal.
It's a reference to Comic-Con.
And nobody else in the theater. It wasn't silence, but it was like they clearly didn't get it.
Right.
But that's an example of what the movie brought. So many lines of that, references to that. If you know, you know. If you don't, who cares? No big deal. Right? So I look like the awkward idiot laughing at this Hall H joke that nobody else gets. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I bet it killed in San Diego. I'm thankful for the Miami Vice payoff music at the end because I was hoping that was going to be the case, that they were going to somehow work that in because it was Miami Vice connection and all that, his jacket. I love the references to the other projects, like I mentioned. I loved their calling out of the Academy for not having an Oscar for Best Stuntman. That was awesome.
Right?
Just such a great way to do it. Chemistry between Blunt and Gosling was awesome, like Jim mentioned and Bradford mentioned. It's not all sunshine and roses just because there are some convenient plot points. Now, here's the thing about this. Okay, well, for example, when he meets Woo's character, and all of a sudden she's got this dog, and he has to catch up to the audience. Oh, still speaks French? Yeah. Okay, I taught it to do that. Where'd you go? It was just like, okay, obviously they have a history, but you didn't show us any of that. Okay.
Yeah.
Now again, here's where I struggle with this. I do take points off for that. To a degree.
Points.
Well, no. It's like a point.
Okay.
My point is that it's like, okay, but is that on purpose? Because a lot of action movies do that. And so therefore, this is kind of a meta self-effacing action movie.
It could be. Yeah.
So maybe it was just like put there as a joke, right? Like, well, a lot of these movies kind of jump from here to here and we don't really explain it why. So we're going to put this scene in here that doesn't really explain the background between him and the dogs. And so, you know.
They gave themselves that license.
Yeah, he needed the dogs to in the chase.
Yeah.
So how do we get him to do that? Well, let's just introduce some dogs and say they knew each other. Like, it's so convenient, but it's also done all the time. And so that's why I think it was maybe on purpose.
I think it's another of those wink moments that we're
I
talking
think so.
about.
Yeah.
So,
They know. They know.
So at the end of the day, the Fall Guy for me is enjoyable. It's fun. The chemistry on screen is undeniable. It's a fun ruse, even though you see most of it coming, all the whole way for the most part. But it's an action movie with heart. 7.5.
Heart takes an action movie a long way.
It does.
Because action
Because
movies
you can just blow stuff up.
Right.
And
call it a day.
And there can be like there's a ton of great action movies, okay? But Heart brings like a whole new element to it.
It makes it more.
Yeah.
It's like what we liked about Monkey Man. Well, I shouldn't say we liked.
Sure.
I won't speak for me. I liked Monkey Man to a degree at the end, but it was an action movie that had a little bit more. It was culturally meaningful. Like all, you know,
There's more to it.
Had some, you know, it was just an action movie with more.
Right.
The Fall Guy, in a different way, obviously, is an action movie with more.
Yeah. I think I think I really loved this movie. I think the only part it kind of fell apart or maybe lost some of its magic was the movie got a little goofy in the finale. Okay, it just got. I mean, there were so many parts about it. I loved it, but it got a little goofier than the rest of the movie, and it just didn't seem to have the exact same tone. But then again, who cares? This movie is not so. It's supposed to be a summer fun movie. These are like the movies that like just blew up in the 80s and 90s, like in the middle of the summer. And there's something in this for everyone. I think the chemistry, Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling, you know, their back and forth is just so entertaining. You want that couple to get together so bad, and they put enough roadblocks in there that make it fun and funny, and you wonder how is it going to happen. I just think this is how you save up your money so you can go to the movies on the weekend and see a movie like this. Maybe just because of the goofy ending, I'm only taking 1 point off, and I'm giving The Fall Guy a 9.
Whoa!
I am. So satisfying.
Holy smokes.
So much fun.
I knew Jim was going to give it a high score from sitting next to him, and his reactions were.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think
I'm sorry I missed that.
We were on a similar page, and I was like, Jim's enjoying himself.
Kid had a concert.
So there's no way that he was going to give it a low score. I was not expecting a 9, but like there's no way Jim's going low.
I was enjoying the movie. Don't say
Yeah.
I was enjoying myself. It kind of sounds like a Paul Rubens reference or something. Okay, don't even look it up on the internet.
Jim.
If you don't know what the Fall Guy is, you're not going to know what a Paul Rubens reference
That's
is.
true.
Also, by the way, for the record, it's not that my kid had a concert. It's that they happened to schedule it on that night. So I'm not upset that my kid had a concert. He did great. But the concert really had to be on Tuesday night. I mean, really, against the Fall Guy.
You were a good dad.
Sorry, Brad.
You did the right thing.
Sacrifice. Good.
Gover trying to over-explain himself
Yep.
because he almost just canceled himself.
That's called exposition, kids.
Bradford, put a number on it.
All right. We did mention this. I loved the chemistry also between Winston Duke and Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
was good.
It wasn't that much, but it was enough to be very comedic, and they're battling back and forth of movie references.
Yes.
How do people communicate so often? We communicate movie references all the time. I mean, I remember when I was younger, probably like in my 20s, how I would communicate with a lot of my male friends in Family Guy quotes.
Sure.
Very popular at the time. You'd just be all quotes, and even my parents would be like, they're only talking in quotes.
Right.
They're only referencing movies. Their entire way to communicate is film.
I can't. Yeah, right.
Like-
and Family Guy was always quoting
all the
movies
time,
and pop
yeah.
culture anyway.
So referencing The Last of the Mohicans to decide who's going to get the weapon. I mean, and The Fugitive. Say it's a fugitive situation right now. The Lord of the Rings. And I mean, there's so many film references in this that I really appreciate it because I love movies. So this is not just a movie to go and enjoy for the action or for the rom-com aspect of it or the comedy overall, but if you like movies, you will find something to appreciate in this because they reference so much in a great way. Because this is a very meta film. I mean, you think about it. They're on a movie set and filming a movie. While there also has to be a movie set within the movie set for this.
Right.
Like, it's going through my head.
With a film crew.
With a film crew.
Filming the movie.
That's filming the film crew of a film crew.
Yes.
Let me add to that. If you watch the end credits,
Right.
there's another film crew behind the scenes filming the film crew filming the film.
There is. Like, it is completely within itself here. And I love that because it's a wink and a nod the entire movie. I mean, to stunt work and everything, this is a very big ode to stunt work. And you can tell that. You can feel it throughout. The way they're even making fun of the thumbs up thing. They're making fun of themselves while also appreciating themselves. And I think that comes through very, very well throughout the movie. We got it in the Oscars, just when they were trying to tease it. I think what hurts the film is the way they've marketed it.
Explain that.
Yeah.
They haven't marketed to tell enough of what's going to get people to go to the theater.
Okay, so
They're banking too much on Gosling and Blunt.
And not telling enough of what the story is and why
Yes.
it's going to be exciting to go watch.
so you're really more having a problem with the marketing department as
not the
opposed to
movie.
the film itself.
No, yeah.
Okay.
No, I love the film. We can see that.
Yeah.
I'm saying more people need to go watch it because it deserves to be watched on the big screen.
It's fun, dude.
It's so much fun.
fun.
And I'm still, and this grinds my gears. with
Speaking of
so
Family
many
Guy
movies,
quotes.
right?
Go on.
What is it with studios and their awful marketing of their productions? Why can't, what is going on where they just can't hit? This movie, I know it's the wrong weekend, but it still deserves enough. And maybe it'll have another win in the second weekend as people start talking about it more and saying it's a lot of fun, things like that.
I believe it will.
I hope it does because it deserves it. This is one of those movies that deserves it.
Please have legs.
What is going on with the marketing behind this? Because you don't get much of the story at all. They're just banking on it being fun because Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, which is great. They are marketable, but you got to give a little tease of the story and what it's going to tell to get people to spend that dollar to go out and watch it. Marketing's got to be better for some of these productions because some movies deserve more. The Monkey Man deserved more in the box office. I think it did. It didn't have enough push because of the way it's picked up, the way to go from Netflix to this and everything like that, right?
But I would argue this movie actually deserves, that's a strong word, subjective. But this movie, there's no nudity in it.
Right.
There's very little swearing in it.
Right.
There's no like F-bombs. I mean, there's no this is a movie that I could have taken my 11-year-old
totally,
to
yeah.
without blind and walked out totally fine with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But instead, because of the type of movie it was, I was like, oh, maybe I can't. I don't want to take him and then risk it. And then all of a sudden there's this big love scene or something. You just don't know, right?
Right.
But in this particular case, it's
fine.
Yeah. I mean, anybody over 10 probably, again, as long as that's okay with your family, right? Yeah, you can totally go see this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. You're a 30-year-old. You're on vacation.
Yes.
You're like, okay, it's raining. We're at the beach. Let's go to the movie.
Yes.
You bring your parents. You're also not uncomfortable.
That's
Right.
correct. And whereas Monkey Man, right? There are scenes where you're like, okay. There's also graphic, killing, there's things like that,
totally,
right?
yeah.
But I'm just saying, yes, they both deserve better, but they are different films.
For
you can
PG-13,
definitely,
it
yes, you can definitely go see
deserves
something
way
with
more.
this.
So I loved it. I enjoyed it. I was entertained the entire time. I appreciate all the little tidbits of Easter eggs to references and music throughout the film was just, I loved it so much. I can't give it a 9.0, but I do give it an 8.5.
All right, pretty close. It's pretty close.
Overall, we loved it.
Really
We
close.
really did love it.
It's close.
So fun. Every episode here on the Untitled Film Project Podcast, we float the big question. It is meant to get you talking. It is meant to get us talking and kind of bantering about on certain things, whether it be favorite movies or, most recognizable quotes, or to Bradford's point earlier, the most quotable movie, whatever it may be, right? The whole point is our slogan is go watch, come listen, okay? But if you haven't watched, okay, before you listen, you can still fast forward to the big question and everybody can
relate to it.
Kumbaya.
You'll have an answer.
That's correct. So on Twitter, we put out the question of, hey, ask us anything. What do you want to know about movies? What do you want to know about our opinions of movies? And it can be silly. It can be serious. It can be whatever you want. We got a few responses, and I really appreciate that. We are still, of course, welcoming those at all times. You can follow us at
Untitled Film Pod.
Thank you.
Everywhere.
Thank you. So Lance Huff, at Lance Huff, asks, what is the most egregious error you've ever seen in a major release? As I said at the top of the show, we're not talking about Terror Tunes. We're not talking about your knockoff movies that go straight to DVD. We're talking about a major feature.
Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Right. Well, that's actually a major feature. It's actually in theaters.
It's not major, though.
Okay, but it's in a theater, though. That's close enough. So
I just love that you brought it up.
So what is the most egregious error you have seen in a theatrical release? And I'll start because mine's real simple.
Okay.
I'm sure I've seen other ones that are pretty bad, but the one that I recognized, like the second I saw this question, I thought of it, was Swingers. When Mikey is in his apartment and he's making this super awkward phone call that sets up the whole movie, and he's just word vomiting all over the voice message machine, and the phone in the background is gone all of a sudden. So he's on the phone. Remember, it's back in the 90s now when they had there's a handset, and then there was the actual charging station, right? Well, it's right there on the desk, and then they cut to like a close-up of him talking on the phone to her, and then when they cut back to the wide shot, phone's gone.
It's gone.
Nothing to do with the plot. I just noticed it.
Yep.
So that's mine. Swingers.
You love this kind of a question because you love those little nitpicky things.
Thank you. That is true.
Yeah, that's your kind of question.
I didn't think about that. You're right.
It is your brand.
I mean, you did have all those check boxes.
I did. And if you screen
phone missing.
If you screen capped that short, you can read my entire checklist.
All right, I will go next.
All right.
So I will lead up to this and see if you guys know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
The actor responsible, Laurie Good.
Oh, Bradford, you have me. I don't know.
Okay.
I have no idea.
It is in Star Wars A New Hope when the stormtrooper's entering the control room.
And he bangs his head on
bonks the head, and this continues rolling. Now, do we laugh about it and appreciate it now? Yes, because it is part of the lore,
That
right?
guy's a meme now, yeah.
But how in the world did it not get caught? I mean, that is one of those things where the head just bounces back, and they just keep on marching through.
The editors back in the day that are cutting reel to reel.
Oh, yeah.
They're falling asleep, dude.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
That was the moment where they kind of needed their third pot of coffee.
Absolutely. Especially in a production like this, though. But now, when you see it every time, you're just waiting for that moment to happen.
Yeah.
And it would never, I don't want to say never, it should not make the floor because it's not meant to be a funny moment, right? If it's meant to be like Naked Gun, then yes, that is supposed to happen. That is not supposed to happen here. It is a big old bonk on the head.
But you know what, though? Good to that guy for keep going.
Oh, yeah.
That's
he
right.
hit it, and he was an actor, damn it. And he was like, I'm going to finish this scene.
I'm going to power through.
And let him say take two.
You play until the
and
whistle
then
blows.
They didn't.
You play until the whistle blows.
That's right.
Until the director yells cut.
He should get a credit.
Good job, Laurie Good. You've been waiting for this pat on the back since 1977.
From the Untitled
Film Project Podcast is here to give it to you.
Okay, so there's two things we would love right now for people listening and watching this podcast is like tell us your favorite egregious error because Lance had a great question and it brought up some fun stuff that I don't think a lot of us knew. But even more importantly, if you go like, hey, it would be a great question for your podcast, let us know. And we'll feature you on the upcoming episodes of Untitled Film Project Podcast.
And how can they reach us to do that?
I have no idea.
The internet.
No. You already gave the social media handle. If they prefer to email, I think we got an email question. So how would they email the show?
By using the internet.
Okay.
Oh, my God. Why are you? It's just stop.
It's on the screen right here. Right.
Oh, now you just made more work for Gover.
He puts more work on himself, and he loves it because he's so good at it.
You can also follow us individually, by the way. I am at Jim Chandler now on pretty much all the platforms that matter.
On Twitter, It's Gover Time.
Justin B. Bradford.
That's how you find us.
Thank you for listening to the Untitled Film Project Podcast. To support the show, please rate, review, follow, and subscribe. Original music by Jeremy Schwartz. Special thanks to the Music City Film Critics Association. Editing and post-production by Jeremy K. Gover. Voiceover by Chad Bennett.